did the NBA start to become like a realistic possibility for you?
Probably my second year there. I did towards the end of my first year, a few scouts came to the games and whatnot. So there was an inkling maybe there's something that might be happening, but you never. It's never like my sophomore year there was like it was great, but it was never like yeah he's a sure lock. But my second year, my junior year, it was better. It was better. Played better. I worked very hard. Like I did extra time in the gym. Like people, now everybody does like skill development and all that, all these shenanigans. I did be
On
mean,
Instagram everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's out there doing well. Picture that, 2 hours a day on top of regular practice. We putting due diligence and at one of the practice, the head coach for the Sacramento Kings right now. What's his name? The guy who was at
Mike Brown.
Golden State. Mike Brown was a scout for the San Antonio Spurs, and he came to watch. He came to watch a practice, and after the practice, he told Keith. He said, "Yeah, this guy is no longer. He's not a college player. That's it. He's reached the level where he's a professional player. Like you can trust that if you guys come out after your junior year, there's a good chance you're gonna get picked, right?" So I was like, "All right, bet." All right. So at the end of my junior year, I declared for the draft. And that was not a foregone conclusion because there's an article that comes out every year. I think it's on Sports Illustrated or another publication where they list all the players that shouldn't have declared for the draft. And my name was on there. So I actually had to prove myself, go to the Chicago pre-draft camp and handle my business there. So, show that I was good enough to play at that level, which I did. To some extent, and then that's how Sacramento picked me in the first round. You also work out with different teams, right? And in my workouts, you could tell that teams were like Atlanta was like, yeah, we have you at 23. I think they had the 23rd pick that year. If you don't work out, they say if you don't go to Chicago, we'll pick you at 23. I'm like, yeah, nah, bro, I'm gonna go to Chicago because if you're gonna pick me at 23, I'm probably gonna have a better chance getting picked higher later. And sure enough, you do your workouts, you do your stuff. The crazy things that people don't realize is that you have to drop your classes. So I had like 15 units I had to drop. So you gotta have to leave. It's like
you have to commit fully.
Yeah, it's a commitment. Yeah. It's a commitment that is serious, right? You're taking a big leap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And did you? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Colin.
I was gonna say, and as part of your pre-draft process, is there any other teams that you worked out for, and did the Kings make it known early on that they were going to pick you?
Not really, but I worked out for them last. The Kings were the last team I worked out for. I was in Cleveland, Atlanta. I did Dallas. I did New Jersey. I did anywhere from the 5th pick to the 23rd pick. That's kind of where that was my range of workouts. You see what I'm saying? Because you kind of have. It's kind of brackets, right? Like you're not going to get invited by the Spurs who have the first pick, right? They're picking Duncan. It's a done deal, right? But anywhere between 8, right? Toronto had the 9th pick. I worked out there, right? So that gives you an idea. Vancouver, all these teams that are probably in the range they think you're going to be at. I didn't know that Sacramento was going to pick me the night before the draft. That's when they called.
Okay.
And there's a great story about this, actually. Great story. It's a crazy story. When they called to say, yeah, we're going to pick you in the first round at 11, we're like, yeah, all excited and all that. Then we get another phone call 2 hours later saying, there's a problem. Your French team where you train from 16 to 19 years old, right before I went to college, is claiming that they have to get paid. Because think about this. Okay. This had never happened before. A French player, actually, a European player who hadn't had signed a professional contract in Europe had never been drafted in the first round. So I had signed a youth contract in Europe, but I never signed a professional contract in Europe. So my club in France were like, well, we trained him for 3 years. You owe us $1 million. They told this to the Kings. So the night before the draft, dude, we are here freaking out. Everybody is, my mom's there, my pop's there, my teammates, some of my teammates are there, my wife is there. Everybody's freaking out. Like, we're not gonna, like, something's gonna happen, they're gonna get scared, and they're not gonna draft me, and then I'm gonna be, right, a second rounder or whatever, right? And sure enough, man, the Sacramento Kings, you got to give them credit. They held their ground, and that case actually went all the way to the Court of Sports Arbitration in Switzerland. It was a legal case, and now players who come from Europe, there's a scale. So if they say if they were in a club for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending on how long they were there, there's a scale and there's a number that an NBA club has to pay them, right? But it all started with my situation where there was no rules regarding a European player coming with a youth contract straight to college and then straight to the league, because they never thought I was going to make it. To be honest, they never thought I was. They thought I was cuckoo in the melon. They thought I was crazy.
I mean, I know that's very common in soccer where they have like a sell-on clause, right?
Yeah.
If you leave when you're 16 to a big club, and then or kind of medium-sized club, and then you go to, I don't know, Manchester United, Real Madrid, whatever, your youth club will get 3%, 5%, whatever. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I guess the framework is set up in soccer, but
it wasn't at the time in basketball.
Yeah. So